Continuing Tiger Rag and BBI's coverage of LSU versus Alabama, and this was the rematch for the ring. When you look at the LSU defense, there's a lot of things they did against Alabama the first time around that the Crimson Tide hadn't seen. They hadn't seen that level of athleticism and talent. The secondary, for sure. I think we saw that with the interceptions by both Reed and Claiborne. So that's something if A.J. McCarron can be baited into again. It's a good thing for LSU. Now, the one negative you have to say for the first time around was how much Trent Richardson really was able to get loose. And a lot of it came through the air, which was surprising. And that was in the first half. So they made some adjustments in the second half, and those adjustments need to stick, and they need to have them again for this game on January 9. And the biggest problem there that LSU had was with the linebackers, how they matched up with Trent Richardson. So for this game, you got to look for that to be kind of figured out a lot more by John Chavis and that defense. They'll have some assignments that favor LSU, and those assignments they'll have to be mindful of them. They can't have communication issues like they did when Richardson got loose for 2 big gains receiving in the first half. But you can't have Carnell Hatcher. You can't have Stephon Francois get out in coverage with a guy like Trent Richardson in the flat. So I would look for guys like whether it be Ryan Baker, maybe Kevin Mentor, but definitely Taj Jones if he gets in to draw some of those assignments. Those guys are also likely to be matched up with some of the tight ends who Alabama hits out of the backfield. So Chris Smelly and then the other kid, the big guy, the Williams, the tight end that Alabama has. LSU's going to have to be mindful of those guys as they come out of the backfield because those are going to be the best targets for A.J. McCarron. I don't think Alabama's going to test LSU as much down the field or on the sidelines as they did in that first game. I think they've learned part of that lesson. So with that said, it's all going to be about the front seven for LSU and what the defensive line can get as far as pressure. They're going to have their full complement of players. No real injuries to speak of. Ken Adams was still dealing with a little bit of an MCL injury that first time around. He'll be back in full effect for LSU at defensive end. On the other side of Sam Montgomery, they'll also have Kiki Mingo. So everybody fresh and ready to go there. Same thing with tackles. When you look at Michael Brockers, Vinny Logan, Anthony Johnson, Josh Downs, everybody ready to go there too. So it's an LSU team that defensively is healthy. They'll have some assignment issues like I mentioned earlier they'll have to be mindful of with the linebackers. And then getting more pressure in that backfield is huge because the first guy that can hit Trent Richardson the best. He's not always going to go down on first contact, but the quicker they can get into the backfield, the better. Trent had, over, I think, 190 yards of all-purpose yards in the first game. They can't have that happen if they want to win this ball game, especially on the ground. So once they take care of them out of the flats, they also got to try to bottle them up the best they can by gang tackling. And if it means they have 8 in the box, I think that's a risk LSU can take at times with the defensive backfield presence that they have. So we'll see how that goes, but everybody, healthy, ready to go on the defensive side of the ball. This will be a lot of where the game is won and lost to me because if LSU can hold Alabama back, force them into some more punting situations, and win the time of possession battle, I should say, it's going to be a good night for LSU fans, I believe. So stay tuned. We'll have continued coverage, all the stories, all the press conferences, and a live game blog here on BBI.com.